Hi, this is Brennan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and today I'm going to be reviewing Flying Guillotine 2, also called Palace Carnage. This is an awesome movie. I really enjoyed this one. I don't know if I've reviewed it before, but the first one, Flying Guillotine by Ho Meng Hua, is an excellent movie. I highly recommend it. And the sequel is so different that they're really hard to compare. I almost enjoy the sequel more, but they really are so different, and they're both such great films in my opinion. I think the original Flying Guillotine is a more perfect film in that I think it's more consistent. The sequel had a number of production issues, and it ended up having two directors credited. I think because they actually shifted directors. There might have even been a third director involved. I think at one point. So you can see that in the film, and there's a lot more protagonists in the sequel, so it can be a little bit more confusing than the first one. The first one is a very sort of straightforward storyline. There are a lot of characters, but it's a very straightforward storyline. This has a lot more intrigue, a lot of characters, and the hero from the first movie is played by T Lung, so it's a different actor playing him, but he's more of a side character in this. He isn't quite the focal point of the action. It's really hard to pick who the hero or who the chief protagonist in Flying Guillotine 2 is. But if I had to, I would say it's Nalan, who's played by Shih, and I hope I pronounce her name correctly because she's a really good actress. She's been in a bunch of really great movies, but I sometimes have trouble pronouncing names correctly. Um, she's probably the main protagonist, I would say. The premise of the film, if you haven't seen the first one, basically in the first one, the Emperor creates a squad of assassins around a weapon called the Flying Guillotine that one of his court engineers has made, and the main hero Ma Tung ends up going against the Emperor. He doesn't want to be used as an assassin. He escapes, and he eventually creates this iron umbrella that is the perfect the perfect counter to the Flying Guillotine. So Flying Guillotine 2 picks up pretty much where that leaves off, where the Emperor is furious that Ma Tung got away, and he wants to engineer a new Flying Guillotine that will get around Ma Tung's counter. So that's the sort of the setup. Into that mix, we have a group of heroes that are trying to assassinate the emperor. The emperor is the Yongzheng emperor from the Qing dynasty, played by Feng, and he is menacing in this role. The first emperor was pretty crazy, but the first version of this emperor in the original movie was pretty crazy. Feng just plays him in he's just as bad, but he's bad in a different way. This is like a really cruel, bad, evil, malicious emperor. I don't think I've ever quite seen, like the full throttle evil emperor done as well as Ku Feng does here. Um, and the heroes are trying to kill the emperor. They end up going and seeking out Ma Tung because they need when they realize there's a new flying guillotine engineer. They need to come up with a new way around it, and they introduce a new character, Nalan, who's the daughter of, I believe, the military, like the chief minister of the military or something. I don't know his exact role, but she's the daughter of an important court official, and she's half Manchu, half Han, and she has sympathies with the Han cause. So she ends up forming a squad of all female flying guillotine assassins with the sole purpose of using that to assassinate the emperor in the end. So, and basically that's that's about the basic premise of the movie. I won't reveal exactly what happens at the end. There is one spoiler I do have to give away, because there's this magnificent scene where, again, Ku Feng is this really evil, wicked, terrible emperor, and he uh, he instructs Nalan to kill her father as a test of her loyalty. And so she's sort of put in a position where her loyalty to her father and her loyalty to the emperor is what the emperor is trying to measure. And so she had there's just this wonderful scene between her and her father where she goes to him and she presents him with a vial of poison that he had given her earlier, and and he willingly accepts it, and she it's a very moving exchange between the two characters, and I just found the inclusion of the Nalan character really makes the movie great. It's especially with Matung kind of uh, really not having as important of a role in this one, and it almost feels like it would have been hard to make that character come back in a as central as he was in the first movie, just because of how he ended things in the first film. So I thought what they did was really great. They kind of took uh, they took the foundation that the first film established. They make like a real sort of mission and intrigue oriented film around a large cast of characters, and I thought that worked. The fight choreography I really enjoyed. There's some really sharp sword play in here. The weapons are fabulous. The flying guillotine is a classic, and the emperor ends up creating the double flying guillotine, which gets around the umbrella, and then Lung's character Ma Tung has to come up with a new work around that one. So, and there's just this magnificent battle in the at the end of the film. Where we get to see the heroes face off with Ku Feng's Yongzheng Emperor. So I thought this was an incredible movie. It does have flaws. One of them, and I don't know if I would call this, I don't think this is like a flaw. I think this might have been intentional, but there's some shaky camera work in the movie. And again, I think it's intentional, but I found it at times a little bit disorienting. And maybe that's just me. The rest of the movie shot perfectly fine, but there's just these moments where there's this shaky cam that, and it's not shaky cam in the modern sense, but this is like filmed in 1978. But it's I found it a little bit disoriented, but I just really loved the court scenes. You like they spend a lot of time making you afraid of Ku Feng. Like you really there's an assassination attempt that early on in the film that doesn't quite go as planned. There's just a number of sequences where he's executing officials for failure, and he's kicking out his former instructor, and you really come to fear Ku Feng's character, and it's a very stark evil. It's not a this is not Shades of Grey. This is very sort of movie villain type evil, but it works for what they're trying to do, and Ku Feng is the right guy, I think, to do it. And I thought Shih was really, really well chosen for this role. She, I like her in a lot of other movies. I just did a review of Marco Polo, and she doesn't have any fight scenes in that, but her acting is outstanding in that movie. And I think here, between the sword play and the acting, she brings a lot to the role. She was also in a film called Lady Hermit, which was a Cheng movie, but she had a prominent role in that. And I like the inclusion of the all-female assassin squad. I thought that the first movie is very male driven. Most of the fighters in the film, in fact, I think all the fighters in the film are male, and I think that can work. But I generally prefer a mix. I think it's a little bit like dance. I like having male dancers and female dancers. I think with martial arts, for most films, I prefer when there's kind of a blend of that. Cheng films maybe being the exception because he's so good at just doing the male form. But yeah, so I thought that it just gave it a nice balance, and it allowed for different styles of fight choreography. And again, the fight choreography was all good. The storyline around the Nalan character and her having to prove to the emperor that this all female squad, is just as capable as the male squads was what also allowed for some interesting moments in the film. So it's just this kind of film. It's only about 89 minutes. I think it's really short. But looking back, I felt like it was really long, and not because I was bored or waiting for it to finish, but because there was so much stuff in there. There was so many characters. There were so many little beats and scenes, and it's just a very full, complete film. Some people do complain that the storyline isn't quite clear because you have so many characters, and you kind of have this tension between the storyline that Matong has and the storyline that Nolan has. I didn't mind that. I was okay with it. I really saw it more as Nolan's movie than Matung's, but he is an important character, and I can sort of see that. But I felt that it was really more her movie, and I think we have considerably more scenes focused on her. Um, but again, I really liked it. I mean, it's there's not too much from the original cast and stuff in it, but they bring in people like T Lung, so I think I think it works really well. Yeah, so again, it's Flying Guillotine 2. It's also called Palace Carnage. Uh, I recommend the first movie too. I definitely think that they're so different. And it was, I really was struggling after I watched. I was thinking about what I was going to say, and I had difficulty comparing them. But Flying Guillotine 2 is just a really fun, bloody, intrigue film movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I definitely recommend it. So I'll be back on soon, possibly without the glasses, to talk about a couple of other movies. I got a few video discs in the mail that I want to review, and a couple of other films. So anyways, I will be back on. Hopefully in the near future. Again, as I mentioned in my previous video, we're just doing the proofs for Ogre Gate, so that does sometimes kind of eat into this, and I'm hoping that that's all sort of in the clear now, but we'll see. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.